What do Mr. Potato Head, an Abraham Lincoln finger puppet, and a plush bald eagle mascot of the 1984 LA Olympics have in common with each other? Seemingly very little, other than the fact that these three items were chosen by kids during my EPS Podcast live exhibits this summer at Strawbery Bank Museum in Portsmouth. Listen to the following segments, and you'll agree that kids say the smartest things.
All right, I am here at the Strawbery Bank Museum in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and doing EPS Podcast live, and I have my very first guests of the day. They came into the Jones Discovery Center where I'm doing this, I don't call it broadcast because it hasn't been broadcast yet, but a recording, and I have Lily and George from Natick, Massachusetts, and are you visiting Portsmouth for the day? Have you been to the museum before?
Yes. We are visiting Portsmouth for the day. We're making our way up north, so this is our stopover. And I've been to the museum once with my husband, not with kids.
And so how old is George?
George, how old are you? Do you know?
4.
He's 4 years old, and as I suspected, as soon as he saw the table of artifacts that I brought in, he went right for Mr. Potato Head. Yep. And George, what is it about Mr. Potato Head that you like so much?
Why did you choose him?
Because I like open.
He opens up and has all of his, so he has all his eyes and his arms and his hat. And have you ever seen a movie called Toy Story, or any of those Toy Story movies? Mm-hmm. Where he's kind of a he has an attitude in those movies, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's seen one of them.
They're fun, and he's quite the So now the question that I pulled out to talk about and to try to figure it out is, what material is this made out of? And the one that we're using today, what can you tell what material that's made from?
Yeah, okay.
George, what do you think this is made from?
Wood.
Do you think this is wood?
It's plastic.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of your toys, if not most of them, are made out of plastic, right? Yeah. And that's pretty because plastic is pretty affordable to make lots, mass production. You can do that, and especially in this day and age with recycled plastic. But the original Mr. Potato Head, what do you think that was made out of?
What do you think the first Mr. Potato Head ever was made out of?
Wood.
You think that was made out of wood?
Mm-hmm.
May have been. I'm sure there's plenty of people that could carve it out, but the idea behind the toy is basically to take the shape of a potato and make faces out of it and a figure. So what do you think the original toy may have used to decorate?
What could they have used? Was it an actual potato?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when it originally came out, which I think was the 1950s,
Oh, wow.
the toy company just sold all of the pieces. So the arms and the legs and the eyes and the hat and all that stuff. And a mustache like you have in your hand. And you would add it to a potato. I'm not sure if the potato is still to be eaten after you added Mr. Potato Head pieces to him or not. But what does that tell us about mid-20th century America, that they were making toys for potatoes? What does that tell us about our potato supply compared to our plastic supply?
So were there more potatoes
Mm-hmm.
in the 1920s, you said?
I think it was the 50s.
In the 1950s.
I could double check, but
Take this home.
you can't
No,
take
you
that home.
cannot take that
But
at
if
home.
you have a potato at home,
But listen, what an interesting idea. If we have a potato at home, we can maybe create something where we can stick like arms and stuff in the potato.
and it also tells us that kids, and you're proof of this right now, have always wanted to play. And if they don't have a toy on hand, like bought from a store, they tend to make their toys.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you just got to the museum or not today,
Yeah.
but as you tour around, I guarantee you're going to find other evidence of handmade toys, rag dolls, corn husk dolls, things like that.
Yeah.
Sticks. There's a museum of, actually the Toy Hall of Fame is at the Strong Museum of Play in Rochester, New York.
Oh, wow.
I'm not exactly sure why it's Rochester, but it's there. And the very first, George, can you take a guess as to what the very first toy to be inducted to the Hall of Fame?
What was the original toy that went into this museum? Do you think? The first toy ever.
I guarantee you that if you went outside,
Potato.
A potato?
maybe, it could be. It's along those same lines. It's as simple as that. If you went out the backyard of your house or just in a park or something like that, what do you think the first thing you'd pick up would
What do
be?
you usually pick up when we're in nature?
Leaf.
A leaf, or what's a leaf usually attached to?
Tree.
A tree. And what is that attached to there?
A band.
A branch or a stick. So the original toy to be inducted to the Toy Hall of Fame was the stick. And I don't think Mr. Potato Head was that far behind, to be honest with you. I think he was up there as far as simple toys. And, obviously the plastic version of him has come about because people are would rather eat the potatoes than use them as toys all the time. And he doesn't go, if you've ever had a rotten potato, right? Plastic doesn't tend to rot as quickly as potato does. So I thank you so much for stopping by. It's as simple as that. And this is our very first on-the-spot interview of the day, and hopefully there'll be many more. So thanks for coming by. Thank you, George.
So much.
Take care. So I am here with Molly and Matthew, right? And have you been to Strawbery Bank before?
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing here about the museum?
It just has a bunch of really cool, interesting facts.
Cool. And you never know when you're going to be on a podcast, right?
Yeah.
You just walk into a building and some guy says, hey, you want to be on a podcast? So you scanned my table and there was a little bit of back and forth. One of you wanted to look at the New Kids on the Block cards. But we decided on a Abraham Lincoln finger puppet.
Yes.
And I grabbed it up yesterday from my house. I don't really remember where I got it, but if you look at the tag inside, it's actually from 2005. It's not that old. I thought it was something from really any other time since 1860s, but it's from 2005. And the question that we chose is, what do we say? Why did they make it?
Yeah.
So that's a good question. It's 2005, what kinds of things do people have to entertain themselves with in 2005? It was only about 17 years ago. So what kinds of things do you think people could do other than play with a finger puppet?
Not like dolls these days, but like baby dolls that they used to make, or like dolls that they used to make.
Yeah, I mean, there's been dolls for a really long time. I'm thinking by 2005, I don't know if you remember this, but like 2000, well, you were probably really young then, but I was too old to be playing with toys or action figures by 2005, but I can tell you with confidence that most toys that I saw had some kind of relationship to the internet. So even if you got a doll, it would usually have some kind of like card or a website to go to, and you could learn about the doll or like give it a name or something like that. And so like technology was really taking over. A lot of internet stuff was, video games. Mm-hmm. That was, a lot of the video games that we play now, like Xbox, PlayStation, Wii, those were all in 2005. So why do you think they made a finger puppet of Abraham Lincoln?
I don't know. So you could go to their website and learn about Abraham Lincoln.
Potentially, yeah. Actually, if you look at the tag on the inside of them, there is a website listed on there. And so I guess you could go there. But even if what is a finger puppet meant for?
It's supposed to go on your finger, but you can go like this with it if its head's bended.
You can go up and down.
Yeah, but if you want to go like this and pretend it's swimming, you can just go like this.
You can make Abraham Lincoln swim. You can make him dance. You can make him do all sorts of stuff. And maybe you can assume this with me. What do you assume? Was there other finger puppets? And if so, what did they look like?
Real people.
I got a finger puppet from the store here, and it's a lady from the 90s.
Yeah,
Was it?
I think so.
It was a lady's from the 90s, and it's a finger puppet.
And so you can either entertain yourself with them, right? Or you could put on little shows for somebody.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was like other presidents, like maybe a George Washington one or a Chester A. Arthur one,
Chester.
right? Or maybe a Gerald Ford, a finger puppet. I don't know, but probably more than one, right?
Yeah.
It's a curious thing because in a time period like 2005 when there's so many possibilities with technology that they make something that I think finger puppets have been around forever.
Yes.
You know, it's a good question. Why did they make it? How much do you think that cost when it first came out? How much would you pay for it?
$25.
Wow, really? Okay. I was going to say like 25 cents.
I was gonna say cents,
I would
but then I didn't know.
I would say 24 cents.
Okay, so it's like Price is Right. Like just undercut a little bit more. Right. The actual resale price is probably like $1.79. I'm thinking, so have you ever been to like Barnes & Noble or any of those like big stores that and they do this on purpose as you're walking towards the register
Yeah.
and instead of just being able to just walk up and buy your books or whatever they have almost like a maze that you have to go through. And it's full of candy, and they have magazines, and they have like little, keychains things, and like lip gloss and all that kind of stuff. And so I can kind of picture that little puppet probably somewhere around there, right?
Yeah.
Because how much do you think, as somebody's walking towards the register, they're like, oh, that's kind of funny, an Abraham Lincoln finger puppet. It's only $2. Why not? I'll buy it. They're not going to go to the back, to the finger puppet section of the store and select it, right? They're going just for that. So if you had this toy, would you play with it a lot, do you think?
Yeah.
Yes. Because it is very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot more possibilities you can do with it. And you can give his Gettysburg Address every morning, right? You could say 4 score. And, and one finger ago. So, well, thanks for stopping by to talk about, of all things, when you woke up this morning, you're like, I'm probably going to do a podcast about an Abraham Lincoln finger puppet. No, that didn't cross your mind? Awesome. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I'm sitting down here with Julia, and Julia, go ahead and move right up to the microphone.
Okay.
So I can get your voice in on there. And I'm at Strawbery Bank Museum in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, doing my live on the spot interviews with people. And when Julia came into the house where we have all of the primary source items located, you were immediately attracted to this stuffed animal, and I'll put a picture of it online for people, but it is a bald eagle, kind of a cartoony looking guy, isn't he?
Yeah, it looks like Donald Duck.
Yeah, that was your first impression. You thought it looked like Donald Duck, which I think you're on to something already with that. So he's wearing a Uncle Sam top hat, and it says 1984 LA Olympics on his shirt. So the question that we selected for you to talk about today is, why did they make it? So what is your first impression as to why this was made?
I think they made it because it was for the Olympics, and they wanted something like to represent it.
Yeah, so let's think about this, because the Olympics, aren't they enough to get people's attention? Why do you think they started to have mascots at the Olympics? Whose attention do you think they were trying to get?
I think they're trying to get like the state, the thing that they chose from each state.
Could be. So what age group do you think would be mostly interested in having this particular toy?
I think like age 5 to like 8.
Yeah, so little kids, because little kids like sports and they like the games, but they also are interested in cartoons, and they like to have stuffed animals around with them and stuff like that. So
I still have my stuffed animals.
It's not something that's, and each one of those stuffed animals probably has a story behind it, similar to this guy right here, as to why it was made and why you wanted it and why you keep it and things like that. So the Olympic Games, 1984 in LA, was a pretty big deal. You know, the Olympics are always a big deal. It's a world celebration.
Every 4 years, so it's like kind of rare sometimes.
It is, and especially, and the United States has hosted a number of times. What's interesting, of course, it's in LA, which we think of as correctly as like the entertainment center of the country. Yeah. I don't know much about Los Angeles as far as its ecosystem, but I don't think bald eagles are native to LA. They're usually like up here in the north, and I know in Alaska they have them like seagulls up there. Yeah. So why do you think they chose? Because honestly, Donald Duck would actually make a little bit more sense because Disney is centered out of LA.
Yeah, that's true.
So why do you think they went with the national bird of the eagle for the LA Olympics?
I think they wanted it to be like North American, and they just thought it would be nice if they did like an eagle because like they think like it's the native bird and they should do that.
Mm-hmm. What do you think that then tells us about the society in the 1980s? And so I was about 3 years old when that Olympics took place, and I don't really remember much of it, but I can tell you that throughout the 80s, this was not the only very patriotic kind of toy, that we would have our hands on. So what does that tell you about the people in the 1980s, including kids?
I think it would just. I think they would play with this every time like the Olympics happened, and they would think like the Olympics is cool if they had this, if they made toys.
A couple years later, they had the Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that their mascot was this character. I might be confusing it with the Barcelona Olympics, but I'm pretty sure they had a character called the What Is It? And he was just this funny looking guy with, he didn't look anything like, you couldn't recognize him, whereas in 1984, and I'm sure you can remember this, it was a very patriotic time, right? It was very, the country was coming out of, not the best era in its history in the 1970s. There was some pretty rough things in that decade, and it seemed to be culturally a big turning point, as far as people returning back to these, traditional patriotic values and stuff. So when the country hosted the Olympics in LA, the opening ceremony was like one big American party. They even had like a guy with a rocket pack flying into the stadium, like the jetpack guy. They had all sorts of bands, and it was in, it was in the Coliseum where the football teams used to play and stuff. So it was like really a big deal for the country, and I don't think it's a big, it's not a big surprise that this is the item that came from it for the kids, right? That was their big mascot. Anything else that you want to say about this toy, or?
I think children would still like this like during 2022. I think would think it's like a historical thing. Yeah, you walked right up to it. I mean, it still has that appeal. It does have that cartoonish look, and I think, like you said, the fact that it appears like Donald Duck, that was done on purpose. They made it look all cartoony and fun for the kids because they were familiar with those kinds of characters already in that time period. So it will probably maintain itself. I'm so glad you chose this one. I've brought them with me to all these different things, and nobody's ever looked at it, but I'm glad that you did, and you did a great job talking about it. Thank you for stopping by. You're welcome.
This is season 2 of the EPS Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed listening to what you've heard so far. Short episodes like this one, which are products of my EPS Podcast live exhibits, will be coming out on Tuesdays this season, while longer episodes, deeper dives into subjects, are posted on Thursdays. If you like what you hear, consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/EPS Podcast. Follow the show on social media, including YouTube and especially Instagram. I look forward to you tuning in again to the EPS Podcast, where everything is a primary source.